Hey everybody, it's Amanda here with Paint a Purpose Coaching, and today's video is about a holiday topic and kind of a touchy subject a little bit. I wanted to do an expansive video on this because I think it's something that all of us don't realize, or it may not even be an issue for you, but if it is, it's impacted you significantly, and I think there can be a better way for all of us to do things, and I just want to elaborate on it a little bit. So as always, if my content doesn't resonate with you, you don't have to stick around. That's fine. Recently, this weekend, somebody wrote to me, and they were just really hateful and insulting my work and everything, and as they had mentioned conspiracy theory, and I want people to understand something. I don't do theories. Even though we live by them every day, medical stuff, psychological stuff, flight theory, music theory, all things, so many things are theoretical. But if I'm talking about it, it's fact. And what I mean by that is I have called the experts. I've written them if I didn't talk to them personally. I've cross-referenced ancient archives and dug through things that you wouldn't believe, old books, ancient texts, tablets, things like that. For the things that I bring to you guys and talk to you about, there's no bullshit here. If I'm talking about it, I know what I'm talking about, or I'm not going to talk about it. I mean, because my job here is to, be able to have the time to find this stuff out and share it with people. Otherwise, what am I here? I'm not here to tell you things you already know. I'm not here to, this is not some kind of, my job is not some kind of thing where we just sit around and talk about possibilities and stuff like that, It's not like that. I work with a very real group of individuals who want to get to the truth of what's going on and learn and heal and teach and, and just improve. You can't do that around just, BS. So if I'm talking about it, I know what I'm talking about. And I just want people to know that I go to great lengths and spend a lot of time doing research on the things that I talk about. So if I don't know, I'll say so. I don't know everything. I haven't researched all the things I ever wanted to, but I learn every day. And it's something that's a passion for me, is learning. So I'm just putting that out there. Please, guys, if you will, please hit the like button if you're here and you're watching my video. If this is not for you, then you might hear somebody at the water cooler that can use this type of information or similar, and you can share this with them. I don't monetize my channel, so it's not like I'm making money off of it, but it helps the algorithm to where more people can watch it, and then I know if what I'm saying is worth talking about. So I know that it is to somebody, but I'd like to know how many, so if it resonates or not. Anyway, now that the housekeeping's done, so here we are, we're upon the holidays, and I realize that, this can be a really difficult time for a lot of people. During the holidays is when a lot of wounds can come up. We've got different emotions around things, lost loved ones, traumas that we had around the holidays or not. It's just an emotional time, but it's also a really wonderful and joyful time as well. And speaking of joyful times, like we're at this time in humanity where we can turn things around. We have the power, we have the know-how, we can turn things around, create the existence that we want, take the power out of the hands that have been using it or misusing it, and use it for good and really make a difference here. I completely believe that, and I think that it starts with being real with ourselves and fixing our own ish. I think that it has to do with raising your vibration, not having a bunch of lies, not lying to yourself or lying to the other people around you. And I think that we can implement, a lot more fact and truth instead of living in if we expect things to go better for us, if we're praying, wishing, hoping, manifesting, whatever, if we're doing that, how do we expect things to go well if we're still living a bunch of lies, or we're still living behind a bunch of bull crap that's keeping us down, or, it's not going to work out for us. So I think that it's time for things done in the dark to come into the light. And I think that people need to do some work. And if you haven't done work, if you haven't, done any kind of spiritual work, or if your third eye isn't open, if you haven't activated your pineal gland, any of that stuff, what I'm saying is not going to make any sense to you. It's going to sound like a theory or a conspiracy or something. It's going to sound crazy. And so we're an elevated bunch here. We're expanded thinkers. We got an open mind, and we're just we're ready for things to be open, honest, and good, So I'm a total optimist that this can happen. So anyway, back to the holidays. When I first learned about Christmas, I was really, really young, and I remember the day that I actually learned about Santa Claus. I can remember my mom singing Santa Claus is coming to town, and she was cleaning the house like she was always cleaning. And I think I had my little pretend playset, and was doing it with her, or I was riding on top of the, back in the 70s, we had the like canister vacuums, and had wheels on it, and almost like a shop vac. And I could ride on top of it. And I just remember doing stuff like that. And so, I just remember her doing her thing, and I was doing mine. And I remember asking her, who are you singing about? What is that? And because it was like she was singing it at me, and wanted me to sing along. I didn't know the song. I was so little. Like I don't even remember my first Christmas, at that time. So I had to be really little. And she said, "You don't know who Santa?" I asked her, so who are you talking about? What's that song about? Who's Santa Claus? And she said, "You don't know who Santa is?" I said, "No, I mean, like, I'm around you all day, of course. If I don't know it unless you show it to me or teach me, right?" So I was like, "No, I don't." And so she said, she started telling me about Santa Claus and telling me that there's this man that, takes care of he's just jolly and good, and he's the best guy in the universe, right? And he gives presents and gifts, brings toys and things to all the kids, and he watches us all the time. He can see if we're good, if we're bad, how we treat others, all that stuff. And of course, you guys just keep in mind, this is before I had gone to church. I didn't know about, God yet. And so, or Jesus, I didn't know about any of that stuff yet. And so, I can remember her talking about this really, it's almost like Santa Claus was like the gateway to those things. And, she told me about this all-knowing guy that could, see if I was being good or bad and all that stuff. And I remember thinking, I was like, so can I get presents? I remember asking her that, and she was like, yeah, if you're a good girl, if you, behave. And I think she mentioned something at the time, if you're pouting and crying and things like that, then you're not going to make the list. You're not going to make the cut, So I remember that sticking with me. And here's the funny thing, like, until recently that I was doing the work with my clients, I didn't realize that was a thing. I didn't realize that's when my stuff had started too. And what I mean by stuff is, when I think back to that moment, it's the first time that I felt judged. It's like worthiness issues. I felt like, well, if I'm not good enough, I'm going to get left out. It's almost like it planted a seed of codependency in me. And I know that Santa Claus is fun, and I know all this stuff is great and everything, but I just want to talk about the serious side of it for a minute, because I hadn't even related those two things until working with people the last few weeks about it. And it was more than one. That's why I decided to do this video. It is just wild. So, it's like it planted a seed of codependency, and it planted a seed of self-doubt and worthiness, and am I going to be good enough? And literally, what is good and what is bad. And if you're a bad girl and you didn't get presents, then, you get the message that you're bad, right? And nobody tells you how to fix it except for to straighten up. And you're like, well, I was just sharing how I felt. I didn't mean to piss everybody off, And that's a thing. Like, For me, I remember that if people were up, being the youngest in my family, I paid a lot of attention to what everybody else said and did. That's how I learned, is observing. And the youngest, if you know anything about the family hierarchies and stuff like that in psychology, then you know how those things go. The youngest child observes and learns from everybody else on how to be, act, all of that. So, and by the time that your parents have a third child and the other ones are growing up and everything, and depending on the age difference as well, they're over it. They don't go to your first child. You show them everything, right? And explain stuff to them and all this stuff. The third child, you're just like, see that? Cool. Okay. And you let them figure it out. So it's hard being the youngest sometimes. And in my family, I know the third child's usually spoiled a lot, and maybe they do get a lot of attention and a lot of things explained to them in detail and all that. But it wasn't like that in my family, and it wasn't like that back when I was growing up really that much. So it was different. So anyway, I remember Christmas rolled around, and that Christmas I got presents. I remember opening a couple of things, but I didn't get as much as everybody else. And I remember I started crying. I just started crying. And my mother was like, what's the matter? And I was like, I didn't get this. And I was like, I don't have any more to open. And that's all I could get out. That's all I could say. Well, what I really want to say is, am I the bad girl because I didn't get as much as everybody else? Or I think I'm bad because I didn't get as much as everybody else, And it's like, I didn't know how to... I didn't have the words yet to say that or ask that. And I think my mom said, here, you can open one of your sisters. And my sister was, no, And I think my brother was actually nice enough to let me open one of his. But, anything to get her to shut up, So, I didn't realize that until doing this work recently with people. And they had a lot of wounds, a lot of different types of wounds around some of these things. And I know I've kind of told you mine, but I think there's more people out there that might have issues around this. And here's what I want to say about it. So when I learned that Santa was not real, later on, I guess I was like a few years, I guess I was 7 years old. My mom and sister had gone to buy Christmas presents and they didn't let me go. And I was like, well, why don't I get to go? If Santa brings stuff to everybody, then, and she's like, we're shopping for the adults. And I was like, okay. So I don't know. I just knew something was suspicious. And so I was one of those kids that got up, made their own cereal, did all that stuff in the mornings. And, I was the little grown up, and I got the keys to the car, went out and popped the next morning, popped the trunk. And there was some stuff that I asked for. And there were not adult gifts in there. There was kid stuff and stuff that my sister had wanted and my brother and everybody. I was just looking around like, okay. And they had tried to cover it up, and there was even some stuff in the back seat and they tried to cover it up with bags. And I was just like, maybe Santa Claus is not real. And I had kind of suspected it already because of all the Christmas marketing and all that, But anyway, I waited for my mom to get up, and I thought, when and how should I ask her about this? So I got on the phone and I called one of my friends who was a smart kid. And I'm sorry if you're watching this video, you know who you are. I'm so sorry I busted the bubble about Santa. I let the cat out the bag, and my friend, I called her because she was a pretty smart kid, and her family was similar to mine, and I knew she grew up Baptist like I did, was a Christian, and and they did Santa, So I called her and I asked her, or I told her, and I was looking for either, yeah, he's not real, and you know it now. I mean, just having a conversation with somebody about it that could relate. Well, I told her what happened, and I was like, I really don't think he's real. And then I think I heard something else the other day, and I don't think he's real. She just started crying, and she put her mother on the phone. And her mom was like, put your mother on the phone. And it was not good. I got in trouble, and I felt like trash that day. I felt terrible. It was horrible. It felt really bad, and I felt so guilty for a long time about that. That, I messed up somebody's Christmas, right? And so there was something else, that happened, and I'm sorry, girl. Okay, but but after I found out that Santa wasn't real, then it started to be about, the whole reason for the season was Jesus, and his birthday. And then as time went on, later on I realized, started studying history and started, adding history and what I learned in church and to the Bible, and mixing and matching those things, and come to find out that, Jesus's birthday is not actually on December 24th or 25th, and that it's at another time. And so I learned that that was also not real. And I was like, well, where did this stuff come from? And then as I got older, I learned that, when the Catholics kind of came in and were kind of forcing in religion on people, Christianity and all that, in on people. And, they took over people's land. They tortured people to death. To this day, there's still like a museum with torture devices in it that you can pay some money and just go see how everybody died, right? Woo! Isn't that fun? But yeah, what we forget, what we didn't live, but our ancestors lived, they were tortured into Christianity, okay? And this was not always a thing. I mean, when people say that in the beginning, and this is what it's like, no, it doesn't add up with history, guys. It just doesn't. And so when you start learning out the facts that, it's a pagan holiday, and pagan holidays were added to our calendar and added in because that's who they were converting. And it was awful, and it was really negative and dark. And I think that they just finally, the Council of Nicaea and Constantine and the guys that were, coming up with all this, this constructing the Bible, and the guys that were doing all this stuff and the calendars and everything, the Catholics got together and they were just like, we need to put a little fun in here, and we need to put something familiar in here if we're going to try to convert these people. And so what they did was they added in pagan holidays. You got your pagan holiday of Easter, and all of those things. So, when I discovered all that stuff, the holidays have to be about loving, goodwill towards men, spending time with your families, cuddling around the fireplace. It has to be around the food. It has to be around, warm and staying cozy and lovey with all the people that you care about. It has to be about family and goodwill towards men. That's the real reason for the season. And in the pagan holiday, it just, the things that they did around this time of year is what it needs to be about. And regardless of how you believe, I'm not talking about beliefs today. Whatever you believe is fine. It's up to you what you want to believe. I'm not trying to tell you what to believe, but I am going to tell you what the facts are around these things. If you don't want to live in the facts, then that's okay. That's your choice. That's your call. It's your life. But I believe that, and I feel and think, and the reason why I'm doing this video is because I believe that we can all have great holidays together without any lies, without any trickster stuff, without any, you can still surprise your kids with I love you gifts for the holidays, for Christmas. I still think that, Christ, should be worked in at this season, this time of year, even if his birthday is not those exact dates, or was those exact dates. And, I just think there's a better way to do it where people don't get hurt. And, it affects people differently when you tell them lies. Some kids might have been paranoid when they first heard about somebody watching them all the time. They might have been, I know one of my clients, that, and I mentioned it, like I hadn't even put the two and two together, but that they really felt like they weren't good enough in their lives, and they pinpointed it to the holidays and things like that because some stuff had happened with their parents, and their parents financially, and they couldn't buy them many things, and the kid took that on as, I'm a bad kid because I didn't get a lot. I think we can have really good holidays without hurting everybody and lying to them. And I'm going to tell you, here's where I'm going to get a little theoretical, because I'm not sure. Nobody has said this to me, but I'm wondering if maybe when we come out into the world from a young age and people are lying to us day in and day out to our faces, y'all that do Santa and y'all that do, the religious Christmas and everything, if we're telling people straight to their face lies every day, that takes a lot of energy to really just keep up the facade. I mean, I hate to relate it to this, but, like a spouse that cheats on their partner and things like that. It takes a really diabolical, negative person, and I'm not saying parents are, but I'm saying, to lie to somebody to their face every day is really bad. It's not a good thing. Paint it in fun or not. It's not a healthy thing. It's not a healthy thing to do, I don't think. And that might sound rigid, and I understand, but we got to do this better. We have to be able to do things. I mean, if we really want things to turn around for humanity, and we really want things to be good, then let's do it with truth. Truth is one of those things that it may hurt, and it may not be perfect, but it's always right. It's always the right way to go, because what is. And it's always the sure, the universe loves truth. Universe loves truth. And that's the quickest and shortest path to what we want, is to start with honesty and authenticity and truth. So it might be ugly at first, but I think that's the way to go. And what I was going to say is, it takes a lot of energy to lie and manipulate and do things like that, even if it's fun. But I think that when the kid discovers the truth, that there's a part of them that is like, accepts that everybody that they know and love is just going to lie to them. And I know that, like I said, I'm theorizing the part before that, but here's one of my clients mentioned this part to me, is that after they had discovered all these other lies about these things, because holidays are huge in their family, they kind of got used to just being lied to by people that they were close to. And that has carried on as a pattern. They made the observation themselves that carried on as a pattern throughout their life. And they've had nothing but backstabbers and liars in their midst, And I think that that's worth a look. I think that that's worth having a conversation about and maybe doing some work around. And so that's why I'm bringing this video to you today. Just if you're a new parent, or if you're a grandparent raising your grandchildren, just think about it before you go all in and do all the Santa stuff and all of that. Let's just see if we can't do it lovingly and have a great time without all the lies about it. And there's the other layer about the marketing. There's the Coca-Cola Santa is the red and white Santa that all of us grew up with. And that's not, none of that's real. It's a marketing campaign, And I think that I see people getting so stressed out, the parents and grandparents, everybody getting so stressed out trying to buy Jordans for all their kids, or the PlayStations or whatever people play with nowadays. I don't keep up with it, but buying all this stuff, and they're working themselves to death. They're breaking. You're not Santa. Why are you trying to keep up with somebody that doesn't exist? It's just a facade. I really think that when it becomes about the materialistic aspects and it becomes about the marketing and all that stuff, it's just exhausting. So I think we can shoot a straight game. I think we can do this better. And as a whole humanity, I believe that if we really want the planet, we pray all the time and meditate and want light light to come out, and shine light on the darkness, and let's get rid of the evil and all this stuff. We're at a crucial time right now where we can't live these lies every day. We can't live like this. We can't keep living like this and expecting the best, guys. We've got to do something. So right now, if you want to learn how to talk to your kids about it, if you've got issues from the holidays, I don't care with what, it can be this topic or not. If you need to talk to somebody about some stuff and unload it and lighten your load a little bit and be enlightened, then please message me and we can get together and do some work. I'm going to have those sessions, and they're affordable. It's $50. Usually they're way more than that. And it's $50, and $30 for veterans, by the way. If you're a service member, I've just counted that to $30. The veterans are actually why I wanted to do it. I wanted to, there's people that need help and they don't have somebody to talk to in certain ways and get feedback and things like that. So I wanted to make sure that was available and it's affordable. So $30 for 90 minutes, and usually it's just an hour, and it costs around $200 usually. So it's a huge discount, and it can be a really meaningful session, a very eye-opening and quick thing. 90 minutes to release a whole lot of stuff or to observe a lot of things and make changes. So anyway, I still have those through December. And if you're interested, just message me here. I hope that some of what I've said maybe you can use, or if it resonated with you, that's great. It's kind of a strange subject, and I know it's a really emotional one and deep, and it seems like it's kind of rigid and not fun, like we're sucking the fun out of Christmas. But what we're doing is we're taking the lies and the evil out of it, really. And just, let's celebrate around goodness and wholeness and be our best, I don't think we have to live around the lies. And I think it's time to just come clean about a lot of stuff. And let's have a good time and elevate, let's raise our vibration and do things that we're proud of. And, let's give our kids presents around the holidays because we love them. There's nothing wrong with that. So that's all I've got for today, and I love all you guys, and I hope you have a great holiday season. Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, all of those great things. Merry Christmas, and I hope to see you soon.